Hello there and welcome to another Hero Arts video. It's Michelle Short here and today I'm sharing how to customise die cuts using the Gumball Machine Fancy die. So let's get started. This is the Gumball Machine Fancy die. It's a really fun set. Can be used for lots of different occasions, I think. Gumballs are always a fun one. So I've cut the Gumball machine from various different colours of cardstock. I've got Deluxe smooth white cardstock, Iris, Amethyst, and then I'm using the Gumballs themselves from Passion Flower and Ultra Pink, and then I'm adding some accents of the glitter silver cardstock from the Glitter Paper Holiday Sparkle set. So off camera I've already die cut the various elements of the Gumball Machine Fancy die, and I've cut them a few times from the different colours of cardstock. The base of my Gumball machine is going to be the Iris colour, and then I'm going to add accents of the Amethyst and also the glitter paper on top. So just popping out all of those pieces from my little bowl here, and then I'm going to cut the pieces apart so that I can layer them on top of each other. And this is a really fun way to be able to customize die cuts and kind of make them customizable, obviously, so however you want. Because the dies cut with those kind of like indentations, they cut really easily, so it doesn't look like you've literally cut pieces apart. It just looks like they were made to be layered together, which is really fun. So I'm taking the amethyst piece and I've just cut that bit there at the bottom, and then I'm also going to cut the bit at the top as well so that I can lay that onto the base of the iris cardstock. So like I said, because of those indentations, I'm literally just cutting the two sides and then the rest is coming apart really easily. I can then add some precision glue onto that, and then I do dab off the excess glue just because they're really tiny little pieces and I want to make sure that that glue doesn't seep out. However, if it does, and it did on a few little pieces, the glue dries completely clear, so it's absolutely fine. But obviously I'm trying my best not to have the glue seep out if I can kind of manage it. So the great thing about liquid glue is I've got time to wiggle those pieces around and try and line them up as best as possible. So now I've got those amethyst pieces on that base. I'm just using the tweezers there just to remove any of that excess glue. I'm then going to take the pieces that I cut from the glitter cardstock, and then I can cut those down and place them on top as well. So I'm going to get a nice layered look, even though the dies weren't necessarily made to be layered. So I can do the same thing for the top of the Gumball machine here. Again, I'm going to do one layer of the amethyst and then I'm going to do the layer of the silver glitter paper at the top. And then I've got this piece here which is kind of like the mechanics of it, so you would turn that bit to be able to get the gumball out. And I have cut one of the layers from the silver glitter cardstock and I just cut those off screen because they're such tiny little pieces. It cut perfectly fine, but I do like to sort of get my head right over when I'm cutting tiny little pieces like that, so it wasn't great to be able to do it on video. And then for all of the pieces I've cut two of the base layers. This is because I'm going to add this Gumball machine onto my card with foam tape, and I just wanted to make sure that the pieces were quite stable. So it just adds a little bit of stability by having the two layers of the cardstock. I've then got the glitter paper piece that I'm going to add into the inside of kind of like the bowl bit, which is where all of the gumballs would live. So I can just pop that down in the middle. And I decided to cut this piece from white cardstock. I wasn't 100% sure what I was going to cut it from. It would look good cut from like a light grey or a blue, but the base of my card is going to be white and I wanted this piece to basically look like it was transparent, so like it was glass, and so I thought it would be a good idea to cut it from white, but I do want to add a little bit of detail on it to make it kind of look a little bit more glass like. So I'm taking some really light pale Copic markers. I started off with the B00 and I just added two lines, so one either side, and that's going to kind of look a little bit like reflection marks. I could have added a little bit more, but actually I think this was fine, just adding a small bit on just either side. And then I'm blending that out with the B quadruple 0, and then I do go in with the colourless blender as well, just to make sure that that blends out really nicely. And although it's a little bit difficult to see here on camera, in real life I think it does make a difference just having those two kind of reflection marks on it, and it makes it look a little bit more glass-like. So I've turned those pieces over and I'm going to kind of stick them together because, like I said, I want to pop this up with foam tape. I thought the easiest thing would be is to add all of the foam tape and make it like one kind of whole piece rather than stick them down individually. So I'm taking some low tack tape and I'm just using that to kind of piece the pieces together at the back. So I'm just kind of lining them up, and then for this top piece I actually didn't get it quite right to start with, so I do end up doing it again. But the great thing is, because I'm using sort of low tack tape, I can sort of remove the pieces and then add them again. So this point I thought that the piece was a little bit further over towards the right hand side, so I can just move that little bit of tape down. And I thought that this was quite an easy way to manage to line all the pieces up. And then I'm going to add some foam tape onto the back, and that's just going to hold all of those pieces together really well. So I'm taking some thin foam tape and I'm placing that all over the back of the gumball machine, making sure to add some pieces where the pieces sort of line up together. So now I've got my gumball machine together, and I'm going to work on the sentiment before I put it all together. So I'm taking the happy birthday sentiment from the Besties stamp set, and I'm going to stamp it down onto some Deluxe smooth white cardstock. So I'm placing that in the mini Misty. And then I can pick up the stamp with the door of the mini Misty, and then I can ink up the stamp with Intens-ified black ink. And I do stamp this twice just to make sure that I get a really nice dark impression. The great thing about the coordinating frame cuts is that they have their sentiments as well, which I absolutely love. So I've just placed that over the top, hold it down with some low tack tape and run that through my die cutting machine. And I did cut another layer again so that I can just pop them together. And again, it's just going to add a little bit of stability to that sentiment. So I can use the precision glue again to place those together. And then I've got that time to wiggle them to try and line them up as best as possible. So now I've got an A2 size white card base. So this is a finished size of 4¼ inches by 5½ inches. And I've removed the backings off of that foam tape, and then I've just placed the gumball machine down on top. I've then got all of the gumballs that I've cut from those colours of cardstock, the passion flower and the ultra pink. And I'm just figuring out here where I kind of want the placement to be of these gumballs before I stick them down. I didn't really want the gumball machine to be like really full. I do really like clean and simple cards, so I didn't really want to fill it too much. So I'm focusing most of the gumballs kind of towards the bottom. I do have a few of the heart ones sort of floating in the air. Whilst this isn't really accurate in terms of real life, I thought it just looked quite pretty, so I decided to go with that, even though obviously they're not going to necessarily be suspended in real life. I thought this would work really nicely as a shaker card, and so you could cut the kind of glass piece out and then add some acetate behind and then add all of the gumballs inside for a shaker, and I think that that would work really nicely, but I went for more of a clean and simple look today. And I'm also going for more of a kind of purple theme, I suppose, with my colour scheme, with just that pop of pink as well. You could definitely do this with so many different colours though. I think a rainbow of colours would work really nicely as well. So just popping all of those gumballs in place. And then I can add some glue onto the sentiment, and then I can pop that down on top. And then to finish off and add a little bit more sparkle, I'm taking the Sparkle Clear Lacquer pen and I'm just adding that onto 3 of the Gumballs. So I'm kind of adding some of that on first, and then I'm going to take a pokey tool and just move that around to cover those Gumballs. I did think at this point that the card looked a little bit like a Valentine's theme or an anniversary. I think that that would work quite nicely with those hearts and sort of like the colour scheme. But these are my favourite colours, so I would still love this as a birthday card as well. Once that lacquer dries, the lacquer will dry completely clear and then it will just leave all of those lovely glittery goodness on top. And I thought that that kind of looked a bit like those sugar coated sort of sweets. I think they look quite nice with that sugar coating. And so that is the card finished for today. Really clean and simple, but I think it's a great way to be able to customize die cuts by cutting them from different colors and layering them together, even though they weren't necessarily made to do that. Links to the products that I used will be listed in the description bar on YouTube and over on the Hero Arts blog. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great day.